I have over 100 aquarium fish. They all live in their own communities, except for one. This is Indonimus. Who is Indonimus? Hey everyone, this is Indonimus. Indonimus, be nice. This is everyone. Indonimus is one of my pet fish that I've had since February of 2020. When I first bought him, he was only 1 inch. But right away, I knew he was special. I find this guy attacking the tilapia all the time. Look how smart he moves. He moves in the shadows. The larger one I came home and found him ripped in half. Very smart fish. So as a baby fish, Indonimus was conquering territory and committing grievous war crimes against his tank mates. So I knew the best decision was to separate him and to give him his own land. That actually sums up the story of Indonimus. It's not as complicated as I imagined. But let's just look at some older videos and follow his storyline. On April 5th of 2020, Indonimus was 3 inches, living by himself in a 4-foot aquarium. This tank was 55 gallons, and he loved it. Being a predator, I fed him high-protein earthworms, and he grew. By August 2020, Indonimus was 6 inches, and I moved them into a 6-foot aquarium. This tank was 125 gallons. Up to this point, Indonimus spent most of his time exploring his aquarium and looking for food. But something changed at this point. He started to pay a lot more attention to me. I wasn't ready to accept it, but I knew he was starting to challenge me. By October of 2021, Indonimus lost all respect towards me. He became so territorial that would try to attack me through the glass. I used extra caution when working around the tank because I know that if he had gotten hold on me, I probably wouldn't be here today. Fast forward to today, and Indonimus actually likes me. Well, maybe he doesn't like me, but he definitely doesn't hate me as much as he used to. He's currently 14 inches, and when I go next to the tank, he is not always consistently trying to attack me. He'll flare at me every now and then, but it's definitely a lot less, and I think it's because he knows that I submitted to him and I accept him as the alpha male. He swims around with his golden body and his red eyes, and that's a warning to his enemies, which is mainly me, my dogs, and above all, my cat. Now let's answer some common questions I get about Indonimus. What is Indonimus? Indonimus is a fish. Why is he so aggressive? Because he's a mean fish. What would happen if you put Indonimus in your other aquariums? Bad things would happen. Okay, seriously, what is Indonimus? Indonimus is actually a fish that doesn't exist in the wild. He's a hybrid between 2 naturally occurring predator cichlids that come from Central America. His mother was a Parachromis dovi, aka the wolf cichlid. His father was a Parachromis maniguens, aka the jaguar cichlid. Now both his parents are from the same Parachromis family, so creating this hybrid wasn't too difficult. If you look at Donnie Boy closely, you'll see that he has traits of both the species. He has the shape and the dots that you can see with a regular dovi, but he also has the golden color and the overall size of a jaguar cichlid. Why is he so aggressive? Indonimus' aggression is a direct result of his genetics. As I mentioned, Indonimus is a combination of a fish nicknamed the jaguar cichlid and a fish nicknamed the wolf cichlid. Both his parents are known for being extremely territorial, very predatorial, and also fearless fish. So there's no surprise that Indonimus has all 3 traits found in him. What would happen if I put Indonimus in my other aquariums? Well, first off, Indonimus is pretty big, so if I put him in any of my small tanks like my 20 gallons or even my 40 gallon, I think he would become claustrophobic, panic, and eventually jump to his death. That is, if I'm not around to save him. My 75-gallon tank might be tight for him as well, but this tank is big enough for me to get a secure lid on it, so he won't be able to jump. Instead, I think he'll actually stress and become less active and refuse to eat just because of the downsize and because of how tight the tank is aquascaped. He'll refuse to eat pellets, and eventually he'll start to eat the fish, and he'll eventually die of depression, I believe. If I put him into my 125-gallon tank that is above his aquarium, he'll be cautious at first because it is new territory, but this tank is the same size as his aquarium, so he'll fit in pretty quickly and get comfortable, and once he's comfortable, he'll start to kill every fish, eating some of them, and just dismantling anyone that he doesn't want to eat. The only one that will survive in this aquarium will be the turtle, but the turtle will most likely get a beating every day. If I put him into my 350-gallon aquarium, he'd most likely be challenged right away by my black belt and all the other fish, but mainly by my black belt because this is the tank boss of that aquarium. The black belt will be successful at first because Indonimus will be on new grounds, he'll be unfamiliar with the territory, but I believe eventually after a few hours, once Indonimus is comfortable, he'll start to fight back. And even though the black belt is around the same length as Indonimus is a lot more thicker, and Indonimus has a mouth full of teeth, so I believe eventually as they keep fighting, Indonimus would win. He would constantly harass the black belt to try to submit him until the black belt dies, and he's going to repeat the process for every other fish in the aquarium until he's the last remaining fish. Now if I put Indonimus into my 880-gallon aquarium, that's where I believe he will have a different outcome. Indonimus will be the smallest fish in that aquarium, and everyone will most likely try to challenge him to put him at the bottom of the hierarchy. His biggest threat will be from my Messer's Geoffrius, who is currently the most aggressive fish in that aquarium. He's not quite as aggressive as Indonimus, but he's about 4 inches bigger than Indonimus, and that tank is his land, it is his territory. He'll most likely attack Indonimus right away to try to show him who's boss, and knowing Indonimus might try to fight back, and that would definitely be a big mistake for Indonimus. The Messer's Geoffrius being a bigger fish, I do believe he would win if the two were to fight, and these fish are unforgiving, so after he wins, he would chase Indonimus non-stop. Everyone else in the tank, they're all predators, and they're all opportunists, so if they see a weakened Indonimus, they're all going to join in, and eventually, if I don't intervene, Indonimus would die if I put him into my 880-gallon aquarium. What would happen if I put another fish in Indonimus' tank? So I actually tried this last week, and this video was actually supposed to be a marriage ceremony, and things didn't really go according to plan. Now you have to remember that this is Indonimus' territory, so he's not going to tolerate any fish that seems to be a threat. Even the scenario that we mentioned earlier, if I put my Messer's Geoffrius in Indonimus' tank, because it is Indonimus' territory, even though he is the smaller fish, he will defend it with his life, and I believe he would actually win with a fight against a bigger fish in his aquarium. Now if you wanted to try to add another fish to Indonimus' tank, you needed a fish that wasn't a threat to his territory, and the best fish to try would be a female, a mate for Indonimus. Now because Indonimus is a hybrid between a Dovite cichlid and a Jaguar cichlid, I think he would be attracted to females of both species. I actually tried this. Back in 2021, I added a female Jaguar cichlid to Indonimus' tank, and he didn't attack her. Instead, he actually fell in love with her, and the two, they spawned. But this female, she was inexperienced, and she's a predator, so she actually ate her babies. Indonimus was not pleased, and he actually tried to kill her. So here we are a few years later, and I wanted to try it again, thinking that my guy was a little bit lonely. So I added a female Dovite to his aquarium. So I put her in a tank, and I put a divider in the aquarium just so that she could escape if he ever went into rampage mode. And I must say, this is the most awkward fish interaction that I've ever witnessed. So she would leave from her side of the divider to come to his side, and the two would just stare at each other. And they would stare at each other for hours. Eventually, I took the divider out because she wasn't using it, and Indonimus snapped and tried to kill her. I think that the divider in the tank intimidated Indonimus, but once it was gone, he showed his true colors. So when it comes to keeping Indonimus with other fish, I think that the only way to do it successfully is if you have a huge aquarium. I'm talking about much bigger than my 880-gallon aquarium. You need a tank where your Indonimus can have his own territory and his own space, and fish can stay far away from him. but I don't think I'm going to be able to provide that. And honestly, I don't think Indonimus wants that. He obviously doesn't like interactions. He likes his own space. So I think that as I keep him, I'm going to keep him as a solo fish, and I think he's going to be pretty content with that. So those are the facts of why I keep Indonimus by himself. Now, of course, with everything, there are pros and cons. So some of the pros of keeping a fish by itself is that you'll get a lot more interaction between you and a fish if it's by itself. Even though most of that interaction is aggressive, it's still pretty cool to experience. Another pro is that that fish by itself will most likely have a healthier body, in a sense where that fish doesn't have to fight with other fish. It doesn't have to worry about other fish trying to nip its fins. So by itself, that fish is most likely going to have perfect fins and just a perfect body, and is also going to be a little bit stress-free because it doesn't have to worry about competing with the hierarchy. Another pro is that that fish is most likely going to be on a cleaner diet because, again, he's not competing, he's not overeating, and he's going to be a little bit more willing to just eat naturally. Now, some of the cons are that because the fish is not competing, he's not going to be so willing to show his full color, and that's definitely the case with Indonimus. He likes to show this dull, beigeish, lightly yellow color, but when he's fired up, he's almost golden. But he doesn't show it because he's by himself and there's really no need to impress anybody. Another con is that by himself he won't be able to reproduce, but Indonimus is a hybrid, so it's not really a problem because it's really not a good thing to reproduce hybrids because it can cause some confusion and even pollution when it comes to the overall population of the true species in the hobby. Now you should remember that not all aquarium fish can be kept alone. There's fish like barbs and loaches that need to be kept with their same species in order to be successful. But typically, if you have an aggressive fish, that fish will do good by itself. Indonimus is definitely one of my top 10 fish. He's actually the only fish that has a name, and that's because this fish just has so much personality and so much character. Now, if you want more Indonimus action, be sure to check out some of my older videos of him, because it's always great seeing where he came from and just watching the different stages of his life. Also, be sure to subscribe for future updates of this fish. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.